for the day is called From Farm to Table and How to Read Your Label. What farming methods mean for your food and how to outsmart supermarket marketing tactics. So we're going to learn a little bit secrets today and what tools that we can have on our belts to be able to make healthier choices while we're shopping. But first, I want to actually talk about relationships. I know this is kind of different. But I do want to start with asking the question of how many of you have a friend in your life or a relationship of some sort? Raise your hand. All right, good. Yes, we all have some kind of relationship, right? I do want to ask the question though, what in your mind what in your opinion makes a good friend or a bad friend? I like to be interactive, so I want to hear things from you. What are some things that make a good friend or a bad friend? Patience. That's a good one. All right. Respect. Right. Any others?
When they listen to you.
When they listen to you. Those are really great qualities. Honesty. Yes. When they forgive you when you make a mistake. Those are really great qualities. Trusting. Yes. Those are really great qualities, right? You know, we wouldn't want to have someone who doesn't have those qualities, right? That wouldn't make someone a good friend. Why? What would be some obvious reasons why we wouldn't want to hold on to bad relationships or bad friends?
They bring you down.
Yeah. They bring you down. Okay. What are some other reasons?
If it's harmful to you.
If it's harmful to you, right, that has harmful effects later on, right? So what's interesting, because of how important relationships are in our lives, we can't put a price on them, right? Because of the positive impact that they can have. So they're worth putting the extra time and effort into them, right? And so, but the reason why I want to bring this up also is I want to also ask you guys, what are some basic questions that we would ask in order to get to know a friend? What are some questions that come off the top of your heads?
What's your name?
What's your name? The most important thing, right, is who is your name? All right. What would be the next coming up question that you might ask or most common? Likes and dislikes. Okay, that's really good. All right. What else?
What do you do?
What do you do for a living? Okay. Maybe where you come from. Is that something, right? I tell you what, wherever you tell me where you're from, it will tell me just not everything, but it could tell me a little bit. If you tell me you're from New York, I have a certain idea of how much endurance that you have in life. I mean, New Yorkers are not someone to mess with from my experience. If you tell me you're from California, we have some things to relate to because I know what Californians are like, right? So there's that connection there, right? So we said, then what's your name? Where do you come from? Maybe how old they are, or maybe don't ask them. Depends on who you're talking to. What makes them unique or special? So their interests and dislikes. And then something I add on there is how do they look or present themselves? Because how someone presents themselves kind of gives you a little bit about them, right? You can kind of see how they dress, how they carry themselves, how they talk, and it kind of gives you a little bit more information, right? So in the same way, we can actually apply these same principles when it comes to our food. But first, I do want to share with you, the reason why I talk about relationships is because there actually was a study that talked about how poor quality and low quality relationships actually do injure our health and actually can cause inflammation. So I know we're talking about food today, but relationships are a part of that. But there's one relationship that a lot of people neglect, and that's a relationship with your food. And I want us to actually talk about how to apply some of the same concepts of relationship to our food today. All right. So what would happen if we did apply it? We need to identify it. We need to know what actually it is so that we know what information to look for, right? It's very, very practical, very basic. Where does the food come from? Actually tells a lot, because there's a lot of travel, a lot of distance. Maybe this food item came from Thailand, or maybe it came from your backyard. That tells me a lot about the nutrition level of your food when I can see how long it's actually had to be stored or how long it was processed and things like that. History, how old is the food? How long did it have to travel? So I just mentioned that. Traits, so what makes the food unique or nutritious? I cannot eat a banana every single day for the rest of my life, and that's the only fruit I have, right? Because even though I might be getting the benefits of the banana, which is what we know of is potassium, I'm missing out on all the other things that are in our foods, right? And then, of course, your label. What does it look? How does it look or present themselves? This is where we get to how is it labeled? How is it presented? This can tell us a lot of information, and that's what we're going to be looking at today and what we're going to be learning together. Okay. All right, there was a study actually done just a few years ago, and you have probably sat in my husband's presentations discussing the importance of having as close to a plant-based diet as possible. But just a few years ago, they did this study, and they looked at when you make changes in certain areas of your life, how much additional years you add to your life. And they have actually seen that people can add as up to 13 extra years to their life just by changing how they eat. How many of you guys want to live an extra 13 years? How does that sound to you? Raise your hands. Yeah? I think we all would like some extra time, because more time on this earth is not just time for ourselves. It is time for the relationships that we have in our lives, right? Right. The other thing I want to talk about is also the medical costs. As you know, that when you're sick, where do we go? We go to the doctor, we go to the hospital. Do you know on average people spend anywhere from $320,000 to $700,000 on medical care? And $700,000 is the larger amount, especially if you have chronic diseases. And so not only do we want to make sure that we have a longer life, wouldn't we want to save some money too in the long run? How does that sound to you? That sounds pretty great, right? So those are our goals today. I want to help you save some money in the long run, and I also want to help you to help us have some extra years. Okay. So here's the objective today. That is my intro. I want us to be able to understand where food comes from. We're going to look at the differences between organic and GMO, what that really means. We're going to learn about the tactics in our supermarkets. I want us to feel more confident when we're reading our food labels, and how to also shop more affordably and nutritious at the same time. And then lastly, just have practical ways to have a more positive, simple, and wholesome shopping experience. It doesn't have to be drudgery. It is something that we can also enjoy. Okay. All right. So Life in an Apple. Can I tell you a story real quick? I'm going to say this story is based on true events. Okay. There was a man in Washington who was inspired to build an orchard, or I should say to plant an orchard years ago. And and before I start, actually, from the kids that are here, I need your children to help for a second. I have a character in this story that needs a name. Can you please give me a name? What's the name?
Peter.
Peter. Awesome. Great. All right. We're going to use Peter. All right. So there was a man who planted an orchard in Washington years ago. But then just a few decades down the road, Peter was starting to be planted. And as he was growing, there were some troubles that were coming along. Started to get diseased, and there started to be some critters. And the man who planted this orchard decided to say that, you know what, I need to spray some protection on Peter and the rest of his friends and family. And these protections, what do you think these protections are called? Pesticides, right? And so, but he was able to prosper somewhat with the rest of his friends and family. And when he was mature enough to be plucked, the owner, along with the rest of his employees, decided to say, you know what? They're ready to leave their nest. They're ready to be stored away, and they're going to chill off to their prime. And then we're going to go ahead and have them shared with everybody else. So Peter and 19 of his friends in their little crates decided to go to where they would be spread out to the different stores. And so now there is a lovely young lady who came and picked out Peter specifically and decided to bring him home. And I actually had, hold on a second, I do. And I have Peter here today. And so I share this story in story form only to show that there's a lot that this apple went through to get here. No, I don't want you to go to the supermarket and tell yourself a story every time you shop. But I do want us to start thinking about the process that our food goes through to actually get to our tables, right? And so this is what happens with our produce. This is what I kind of want to have in your minds when you are going grocery shopping. There is the farming, obviously, but then you have the packing house, and then there's transportation. And then, of course, we don't know how long. Maybe it had to be imported. Maybe it had to come across seas, which means when the food was actually picked, most likely it was picked before it was matured. And the best time that you want to have your food is the closest time to when it was harvested, because then you actually get a majority of the nutrients from that food. So that's why I talk about travel time, because it's not that there's no nutrition whatsoever, but what I want us to think about is how can I shop to get the highest amount of nutrition, right? So it's imported, it's processed, it's distributed, it's taken to the store, and then it's in our tables. So it's just some background information. This impacts the quality of our food. Also, what affects our food is also the soil. When they were farming this, how do they actually take care of their soil and their dirt? How do they actually get rid of pests and diseases? Do they use sustainable water? What do they do to actually keep it fresh while it's waiting to get to the store? Because from the time that it's plucked to the time it gets to the store is roughly about 3 to 7 days, because they don't want to store it too long because they don't want it to be bad. And so there we go. All right. How many of you are familiar with these labels? We've all seen these labels, right? They're pretty iconic. There's a certain level of respect that we have for these labels, right? And for good reason. It's important to know not just what the labels say, but also how much weight they have. There's a reason why these are on our foods, and we're going to see them on some of the things that we have for you today. But there's a lot of special regulations that are hidden behind them. You know, I cannot grow strawberries in my backyard and slap one of these stickers on there. Do you know what would happen? I would probably get sued or something that matter, because I haven't followed all of the regulations that have been, that I need to be able to follow in order to say that it's organic. So, but this does help us to be able to see what the quality of my food is, and the high nutrition and the safety of my food. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and break this down and look at the differences between organic and GMO. So for organic, this means that it's grown without using synthetic chemicals, and it does not contain GMOs. So if it's organic, the GMO part is already taken care of. So there's also international organic standards when it comes to these labels. When it comes to being organic, this also it refers to the fertilizers that are used and the pesticides. That all determines if it's organic. And then also organic foods can be grown at a variety of locations. This is not just the big farms. These can also be grown in small, uncertified organic farms, because most likely the small farms, they do have some organic practices, but they might not be as heavily regulated. So this would be like more of your local farms. And then you have the large certified organic farms that we're familiar with. Okay. And this is where they would be distributed to, like your Harris Teeter or Walmart and things like that. Okay. So like I said before, your labeling really does matter. It actually provides protection. It makes sure that there's transparency. Even when I was preparing this presentation for you, you can actually look up a lot of farms and they can tell you what they do to grow their food. So they have to be transparent with how they farm. And also, of course, the protection aspect to make sure your food is safe as it's growing. And then also the quality of the food. And like I was mentioning before, there's international organic standards, which we won't be able to cover today. But on a worldwide level, there's an understanding of what organic actually means. And some people might have different rules for that. Okay. So here are some regulations and some misconceptions that there might be. So there are different ways to label something organic. They could say 100% organic. It can say just the word organic, which means it has to be at least 95%. And then you have made with organic. Have you guys ever seen that term before? Just made with organic foods, right? So if it says made with organic, that means it has to have 70% organic foods in order to make that statement. Okay. And then there's another part. So have you seen boxes where they say, this is naturally made or has natural foods, right? And it's very agreeable to us because we're like, oh, this is natural. That means I can eat this. Not necessarily. We still have to look at our nutrition labels to see what is in it, because it could mean, oh yeah, I used a real apple to make this, but then they've added 10 other things to make the product, right? So those are things to be aware of. Or natural does not mean organic. It may not even mean that it's all the way good for you. So that's why it's important to still take the time to get to know the food that we're purchasing. Okay. All right. So how do they go about this? So one of the first things is actually crop rotations. This is actually a biblical concept. This with the same idea. When you have your crops, in ancient times, you had to rotate your crops every 7 years, or not rotate them. I'm sorry. You should give them rest every 7 years. The reason why the rest was so important is because it allowed the nutrition to not be depleted in the soil, because they understood that they wanted to make sure you get as much nutrients as possible. If the soil is healthy, your fruits are healthy, and you in turn are also healthier too. And so this was also applied. So crop rotations is something that's implemented right now. And then also for the fertilizer, they use something called green manure. So there are other fertilizers that can be used, and the ones that they use are like clover, rye, or vetch. All right. Companion planting. Have you guys ever heard of companion planting before? The Native Americans actually used this process with their foods. And one of the things that they had was the three sisters. The three sisters are your corn, beans, and squash. And they grew them together because there was a very good relationship with that food to make sure that the soil stayed healthy. There was certain nutrients that the food could get, and they were able to work perfectly together, and also give you all the nutrition that you need. You had your protein, your starches, your carb, like everything was right there with just those three foods. And so this is the same idea that's used today, a lot of times in organic farming, to make sure that the nutrients is actually there. Right. And then they use compost as fertilizer as well. Okay. All right, so why do they do this? So healthy soil means healthy bodies and also a healthy ecosystem. All right. In the Journal of Environmental Research and Public Health, they've actually shown that if it is organic, most likely it has higher nutrients. It's because the ratio of the nutrients is greater than the calories that are there. And also it's good to know that the nutrition can vary. This is not the case all 100% of the time. And it's because farmers can use different ways of farming. So they can still do the organic processes, make sure their soil is healthy and things like that, but they still might vary a little bit differently in their methods. Okay. And, And so some of the things that you might see is maybe more vitamin C, iron, magnesium, potassium. These are very essential for our nutrients. And also when it's organic, it has less residue. You've seen that filmy white stuff that's on the outside of your grapes and your apples and things like that. That's why it's so important to wash them, not just rinse them. We want to make sure they're scrubbed really well. And when you get organic, you don't have to worry about it as much. So there's less residue, and that's really great. And of course, when you have more nutrients, that's antioxidants, which means less oxidative stress. And oxidative stress is actually leads to more inflammation, which is actually the start of the diseases that we see in our country and a lot of the world today. So that's why starting from the basic things from our ingredients is so important when we're looking at our food. Okay. The dirty dozen. Now, I know that when you're shopping, sometimes you might be wanting to lenient and you're just like, oh, I don't want to buy organic today. Maybe it's a little bit at my price range today or something like that. Well, this is a really great way to kind of see what are the foods that are okay to kind of get away with for the day, even though it's good if most of your food is organic. But the dirty dozen are actually 12 foods that the EWG have seen to carry the most pesticides in your produce. Okay. So we have spinach, strawberries, kale, collards and mustard greens, grapes, peaches, cherries. And then we have nectarines, pears, apples, blackberries, blueberries, and potatoes. These are the dirty dozens. These are the ones that don't be lenient on. These are the ones we want to make sure are organic for our foods, because we don't want those chemicals to be in our systems. Okay. Yes, we want to make sure those are the ones that are organic, right? Because those are the ones that carry the most pesticides. And so because of that, we want to make sure that, we want to make sure that they're organic. Yeah. Okay. All right, so we covered organic. GMO is pretty quick. This one, it's where the genomes or the DNA of the organism has been created in the lab. Please don't ask me how they do that. I am not a chemist. If you want to talk to a chemist, please talk to my husband. He can tell you maybe a little bit more of that than I can. But just know that that means that there was some work that was done in the lab in order to add a specific character trait to the food. It may not necessarily be a bad trait, but I'm going to tell you some of the information now. So here's a couple of the methods that I found: recombinant DNA tech or reproductive cloning. Those are some of the methods that are used in the labs when it comes to making GMO products. And then there's also some mixed responses. And I'm going to share a little bit of that to you today, because I want this to be a balanced presentation so you can kind of see both sides. Okay. So here are the pros. Some have GMO crops because they found that it helps with yielding more and also creating more resilience. So remember I was telling you the story of Peter and how they sprayed chemicals to make sure that it didn't get diseases and pests? Well, the other alternative is actually to genetically modify the food so that it's more resistant to pests. So that's one of the reasonings for some of the foods. Also, it might be used to improve nutrition. But here are some of the concerns. So even though there are those positives, they're saying that it can possibly be linked to our long-term health. Okay, because of the processes that are used, because it's not completely natural, and that might be actually affecting why we have certain allergies and immune responses. So, and you've seen that a lot, right? Why are so many people having allergies today or can't eat certain foods? Like, I'm wondering that sometimes, like, why in the world is it increasing so much? And I think a lot of it has to do with just getting to the basics of what are they doing to our food when it's growing, and what's being put into our food in the packages as well. All right. And then also long-term ecological effects as well. Okay. All right. So now I hope this interests you. I'm going to show you the crops, the GMO crops that are actually in the U.S. 94% of the soybean crops are GMO. You also have 92% of them being corn. 96% is cotton. And then you have your sugar, beets, and canola. These are our largest GMO crops in the U.S. currently. Okay. Got to catch up with myself. Okay. But I don't want you to lose hope. What I want you to leave away with is that when you are shopping, don't be too hard on it. Do the best that you possibly can. Rely on the dirty dozens. If you cannot find an organic orange, please don't let that be your reason to grab a Snicker bar. Because remember, our goal is to have the highest nutrition, and a Snicker bar does not have much nutrition. I know there's peanuts, but that's not enough for me. So, all right. So let's go ahead and get to the psychological tactics, okay? This is the good stuff. All right. Location, location, location. Making the first impression, okay? They always want to get you right when you come through the door. Makes sense, right? They want to make sure that you're hooked, that they know where to spend the money with you. And also there's something called the right turn predilection. So apparently when you walk into a grocery store, we naturally want to turn right. Maybe it has to do with it being our dominant hand. I don't know. But they've seen the path that people shop, and they tend to veer more right. So they tend to put higher ticket prices at the door. I don't know if you've ever walked into Harris Teeter, but sometimes what they'll do is they'll put the nice little goodies right there at the door. So it's the first thing you're seeing, like, ooh, let me get that pumpkin muffin. oh, I can't leave that, you know? But also the other thing is they do put the produce right there too. So they kind of make you feel good when you start in a way. All right. All right. What's the first thing that you see in this picture? Or first shelf? Yep. Go ahead. What's the first thing that you see? Pumpkins. Go ahead. Yeah, right. So I went into these are pictures that I took personally myself, and it might be hard to see, but as you can see, it's football season, so football season has started. But the first things I see here is they have beer and they have chips. Right in the beginning, they want to make sure, like, hey, let me make sure I get you ready for the football games, and they have all the not the necessities, but they have the things there for you, right? They do have some green beans sprinkled in there, so you kind of feel good about picking up some things from the shelf. But yes, it would be that shelf right there. Is there anything else that you see in the picture?
What stands out to me, I don't know if it's...
You're talking about over here? Or? Oh, the colors, yeah. The colors actually is a tactic too. Yeah, the colors are a big tactic too. They want to make sure that you're gravitated to it. Another thing that's here, especially in this picture, is you see this section. It's October, Halloween is coming. So they have all of the junk food, as he said, and the candies right there. So when you're bringing your kids in, they want to make sure that, oh, mommy, please grab me a candy corn or something like that. So yep. So they get you. And do you guys see the produce area at all? Or do you know where the produce area, if you know this store? It's all the way hidden in that back corner. So you have to sneak your way past to even get to the good stuff in this one, right? So the strategy for that is, oh, and I wanted to show you this one. This is another picture I took. So even though the produce is all the way to the right in the beginning when you first enter, every single time, this is candy, chips, and all the stuff that you don't want your kids to have. They put it right there for you. So, yeah. So this is your strategy. When you're coming in the front door, have in your mind, start in the fresh zone. I want to start with my fruits and vegetables first. Don't even look on the left side. Just go ahead and go to the produce area. Okay. And that's where there it is. All right, so they make a good first impression. They know you like to veer to the right. I got to catch up with myself too. Okay. All right, and they put the essentials in the back. So the milk and eggs and butter that you typically buy, they always want to put that in the very back. They want you to make your way through the maze of that grocery store so that you can buy more items, right? Because their goal is they don't care about you being healthy. They really just care about our wallets, which is business. I mean, that's fair. You know, you want to make a good living, that's fine. But these are the tactics that they use to be able to get their funding, right? All right, product manufacturers make the most money off of end aisles. The end aisles is where they make a lot of their money. And then lastly, impulse buys at the checkout line, right? So they're like, wait, before you end, let me make sure you get your chocolate bar, or don't forget to get that extra bit of chips. So also racking up their funds for them. Okay. All right, so these are the end aisles. So what do you see on the end aisles there? Huh? There's soda, right? They threw in some water, right? So you kind of don't feel as bad. But there's chips and there's sodas. And I took a picture over here. That whole aisle is alcohol, which I'm not sure if I need to tell you, but that is not good for our health. It's connected to a lot of different diseases. And so it's right in that area right there. Yeah, the whole aisle. So we want to stay away from there. And then I think this is like peanut butter filled pretzel snacks or something like that. So, by the way, this is a no judgment zone. This is not to pick finger or point fingers in any way at all. I'm just giving you the information so that we can feel better about our shopping experience. Okay. All right. Walk down the aisle. Maybe not this one. All right. So just walk down the aisles with caution as you're going in. Avoid the end aisles. And I actually have to say, as I've changed my shopping style, I rarely ever go to the end aisle. I actually don't know the last time that I've gone to the end aisle except for maybe Whole Foods if they have something good. But I found that most of my best items are actually in the middle of the aisle. Okay. All right. Let me see here. Oh, and then here's actually the last thing. The high ticket items, they always put at eye level. They know that you're going to gravitate towards that. So they'll put either the most expensive or maybe the most popular items right there for you.
Jess,
yeah.
Also put items that kids like on the lower aisles so they can see them.
Yep.
Yeah. So
that's true.
Things on the eye level for kids.
Yeah, I was about to mention that too. I had a picture in my slide, but it didn't make it in time, but I actually had a picture of the cereal aisle. But if you notice that a lot of the cereals, like your Cocoa Puffs and all of that, they're all down here so the kids can see. They don't want the Special K and the Wheaties and all that's on top. They want all the stuff that's down more where they can see it. So when we know those strategies, we can feel stronger and more comfortable to be able to know what to do and what not to do when we're shopping. We want to be able to defend ourselves, defend our wallets, defend our health in the best way possible. So, all right. Was there another one? Impulse buys, yes. So here is what it looks like when I go to the checkout aisle. I'm seeing a lot of candies and chips and gums and things like that. Some of the gums aren't actually even as good for us too, but I'm not going to be covering that here today. So yeah, just your strategy is just buy and go. Don't even look at that aisle. Just go to the checkout straight. Don't pass, just go. Just buy your stuff and go. Okay. All right. So now that we know about them and we know their tactics, what is it that they know about us? So here's some information. So according to the University of Southern California, consumers comfortable with buying private or store brands is 64%. Okay, so they've seen what we gravitate to. Okay, those who look for local products. When me and my husband we go shopping for honey, we specifically look for local honey because of the fact that it's so much better for your allergies, and honey is just really good for you. I'm sorry if there are people who don't like eating honey, and that's fine if that's what you want to do, but I love honey and it's really good for you from what I found. So people who look for local products is actually only 48%. Okay. All right. Willing to pay for organic foods. They say that just 30% of people are willing to buy organic foods. And I understand, sometimes there are things that might be a little bit more expensive, but as we've talked about before, you can't put a price on your good health, just like you can't put a price on good friendships. And I'm also going to be talking about how to shop a little more affordably as well. Okay. And here's our last one, shoppers that read food labels. What do you think the percentage is on this? Just give me some guesses. What do you think the percentage is? 10? Okay, what else? Any other guesses? 70, 20? It's 60. It's a little more than half. It's actually not too bad. I was actually pleasantly surprised. But that's why you're here today, because I want us to be a part of that 64% and help it to be a little bit bigger. I want us to be able to read our food labels. All right. So last thing is when they're comparing two labels, they said that consumers have a difficulty time knowing what food is healthy or unhealthy. Okay. All right, so we're actually going to talk about those labels now. We're going to look at what ingredients that we should actually be looking out for. I'm going to be listing just a couple, but eventually I'm going to be looking at some banned ingredients. So you'll want to make sure you pay attention for that, okay? Maltodextrin is one. Maltodextrin, I see a lot. It is used as a thickener, flavor enhancer, and a filler. It is something that is not grown from the ground. But it's used in foods like your snacks, instant foods, dressing, sauces, anything that has to thicken up. That's what they typically use it for. And the reason why I'm bringing this up as a caution is because maltodextrin has been shown to possibly increase blood sugar levels and also cause an unhealthy gut. Your gut health is one of the most important things because not only does it affect your body, but it also affects your mind. So maltodextrin is something that we want to look out for. Okay. And then one of the other things I want to mention is seed oils. If you've listened to Dr. Thomas's talk, I'm sure you've heard about seed oil. So I'm going to list again because I want us to see which oils to be aware of. So the seed oils would be your canola, or also it could be called rapeseed. There's your corn, cottonseed, soy, sunflower, safflower, and grapeseed. So these are considered the seed oils, and these are the things that we want to try and avoid because they have seen that these seed oils are linked to inflammation, leading to the chronic diseases that we see in our country. There is no like that. I feel like that really helps to explain why the #1 disease in our country is heart disease. How many of you guys have a family member with heart disease? Does anybody have a family member? I'm seeing it more and more, and I think it has to do with the hidden ingredients in our food. And so if we know this information, if we can get behind the scenes and see what they're doing, we can fight back against it. So here are some healthy alternatives. Is your extra virgin olive oil. You have avocado oil and coconut oil. So these are the stars of the show. These are the oils that we want to see in our foods. Okay. All right. Are you guys ready? These are the 5 banned ingredients in different countries. All right, something called titanium dioxide. Now, when I ran into this at first, I was like, I don't see that on my ingredient list typically. The reason why we may not see it is because it's hidden behind the name of artificial color or added color. This is found it's banned in the EU, and also recently in 2023, it was banned in California because they found the dangers of this food. It's also found in things like gums, candies, and soups. All right. Another one is BVO, or brominated vegetable oil. So this is typically found sometimes in your citrus flavored drinks. And it's also banned in Japan, EU, and the UK. Right. There is also a ban proposed by the FDA right now. I'm still waiting to hear more about that, but that's currently in the works. Something else you hear about is something called BHA and BHT. These are considered preservatives. These are found in your breakfast cereals, cake mixes, things of that nature. RBST. Again, I'm just giving the information. Please don't shoot the messenger. But these are growth hormones that are actually found in animal products. This would be like our dairies and our meats. These are the hormones that are put in there. These are banned in other countries because they've seen the damage that it can do to our bodies. Okay. And then lastly, the known culprit that we've been hearing so much about is our artificial food dyes. Thankfully, they've been more action about removing red 40. I'm not sure if they're moving to remove yellow yet. I think they are, but yeah, that is something that is being banned right now. So some grocery stores and brands do commit to no artificial food coloring. This would be like Whole Foods, Trader Joe's, and Aldi's. I actually was very surprised to learn about that. I did not realize that. And there will be some brands like Annie's or Unreal Snacks, Go-Go Squeeze, which is sometimes used for baby food, and also the Kind bars. Those are people that have been committed to not having artificial food dyes. Okay. All right, I think I gave you a little sneak peek of the screen, but I'm about to show you the 15 banned foods in other countries. Now, I don't know how you're going to feel about it, but I want you to try and picture what is the food that you really hope is not on that list, and maybe it will make you feel a little bit better about it. But here are the 15 banned foods. Internet, these are foods that are in America that are banned in other countries. Are there any that you're kind of surprised about? Right? Yeah. Yes, we have Twinkies. We have stovetop stuffing. We have coffee mate creamer, which we see in every waiting room with a coffee machine. Fruit Loops. I grew up eating Fruit Loops. Me and my cousin even grew up eating like Fruity Pebbles. We'll get a container out and we will down that thing. That was like our social time together, was eating a big bowl. Ritz crackers, Skittles. You have the Swiss roll from Little Debbie's. I know. It's not good. Maraschino cherries. Mountain Dew. You know, one thing I was actually surprised by was actually corn. So the reason why it's conventional corn, the reason why the corn is banned, at least U.S. corn, is because it's sprayed with something called atrazine, which is actually a chemical that is banned in 44 countries. This is why it's so important when you're looking for, and this is like, I'm also learning this too, like as we go. When I saw this, we realized, oh, wow, we need to get certified organic corn. And there are certain places where you can get that. Whole Foods, I believe Whole Foods, and I want to say Trader Joe's, but I can't remember. But basically what you want to do is you want to aim for organic corn just to be safe. Maraschino cherries, you know, me and my husband don't drink alcohol, and one of the most amazing flavored cocktails we used to like was your Shirley Temples with little cherries. And if they could give me some extra, I would love some extra. But the reason why maraschino cherries and a lot of these foods are banned are because of the previous ingredients that we just looked at. Is because of the artificial food dyes, the hormones, and everything else. And if you'll notice, almost every popular meat that we eat in this country is on this list. That's scary. And you know, yes, we have farmed salmon, we have chicken, U.S. milk, U.S. pork, and also prepackaged beef. And it's because of the hormones and the chemicals that are filled in. Actually, and even in the ground beef, I actually want to share something about this. Give me 1 second. So beef has a chemical that's a byproduct it's used as a filler, and it has ammonia gas that's connected to it. That is why those prepackaged beefs in general are so unsafe. So, all right. So I know what you're doing. You're looking at this and you're like, oh no, you took away my favorite foods. What am I going to eat? But no worries. You know what foods we can eat? We have so many options. Look at how this look beautiful. It looks so colorful. There's so many wonderful things to eat that God has given us to be able to enjoy with variety of flavors and nutrients. So I want us to put this into practice, all right? So let's go ahead and do some shop. There it is. Okay. All right, so while you're taking pictures or copying this down, go ahead and take out the bags that are underneath your tables. And I want us to actually put this into practice. And go ahead and take out the items out of your grocery bag. Yep.
That's so cool.
All right, let me get your attention real quick. I'm going to give you the more directions. I want you to compare the blue labeled items to the orange labeled items. And I want you to take turns, just take some time, read the ingredients a little bit, and I want us to reconvene and actually talk about what we've seen or what we've noticed. Okay. Has everyone had a chance to read the ingredients on the list? Has everybody had a chance? All right. What did you guys notice? What did you notice as you were looking at the ingredients?
I noticed that at our table, we had organic items, and then there were the items that looked to be like the organic items, like the applesauce in the containers. Though they looked organic, and they said applesauce, and the same as the one in the jar that is organic, it was added sugars, about 20%.
Oh wow, 20. Wow, that's a really good find. Nice.
So,
Yeah.
I'll just tell them where you got them from. So this is the organic applesauce. Yes, you guys know. It's from Trader Joe's, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
So if you guys are looking for it, this is the one, and it only has apples. Right.
As it should be.
This one is the 20%, and this one has high glucose corn syrup, ascorbic acid for color, and water. And so you see that both applesauce, one of them is actually only apples. The other one, they put other stuff into. And that one tastes better. I like that one.
Yeah. Awesome.
It's a good substitute for eggs too.
Yes. And I don't know about you, but when I have a sweet tooth now and there's a fruit that I want to eat, apples kick the sweet tooth for me because apples are so sweet. So if I need something at night and I need something sweet to munch on, like apples are great. They don't need extra sugar.
Also frozen pineapple.
It's so funny you mentioned that. We have been on a pineapple binge lately. Like we've been buying nothing but pineapples lately, and we'll eat them at night, and it's been delicious. Yeah. Anybody else? What else did you guys notice at your tables? Were there any? Yes, Adasa.
Like 2 ketchups, but
One was not good. Okay, all right. Anything else you guys notice when you're comparing how the lists look? Oh, yeah.
So you saw the ketchups, and that's the one you said was organic, right? Okay, so this ketchup right here is from Harris Teeter, actually. It's Simple Truth. But you saw that this one just has the tomatoes, tomato paste, sugar, vinegar, salt, spices, and onion powder. And then the other one, which was orange, had high fructose corn syrup, and natural flavoring, which is not natural.
Was the list, how long was the ingredients list on that one?
The list actually is
On the non-organic ones?
a little bit longer, but not too much.
Okay. All right.
There's extra sugar in it.
Okay.
That's what you're trying to avoid. So you
Nice.
gotta get the one when you look in the back, it's mainly tomatoes in your ketchup.
Right. It's real food that's in there, right? Yeah. All right. What else did you guys notice? Any comparisons you found? Yes, Amber? Yeah. Oh, okay.
The one that looked the best was the one that was the worst for you.
Oh, oh wow, nice, good. All right, Rose. Oh wait. I'm sorry. This one first. Yes.
Well, I have a lot of questions. First, I wanted to know what company put out that ketchup.
It's Simple Truth, and it's from Harris Teeter.
I understand that this is tomatoes.
Oh, tomatoes do? Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Also, the oats. I just read something about it has a lot of metals and different stuff in it.
Yeah, that's what it's probably.
It said organic, and then it says that it's nothing but oats. This one's the best one.
So if it has only oats, and it's organic, then that is the best one for you. Yeah, and it's interesting that you bring up. Yeah, and it's interesting you bring up heavy metals. Yeah, so it's interesting you bring up heavy metals too. We'll have to have another talk on that one too, because that's also something to look at as well. So, anybody else? What else did you notice as you're comparing the list? Oh yeah, Rosie. Yes.
Okay, Rosie has a question for you.
Okay. Shh. Wait, I can't hear.
But when you read the ones that were organic, it had like stuff that you couldn't even understand.
I'm so glad that that's a really good observation. Yes. Oh, wait, yeah. Did you guys hear what she said? She said, if you cannot pronounce half of the ingredients on the bottle, then maybe we shouldn't be eating it. I think that is a really good tip. And because when you look at the organic ingredients, you know exactly where all that's from, right? You know where apples, you know about apples, you know about oats. Those are all things we can understand, we can relate to, and they're real foods, right? Okay. Anything else that stood out to you? Anything else that maybe was a surprise or anything like that? All right. Yes.
So like the packaging on like this old cacao dark chocolate bar, it's like paper. But like the other ones are like, how can I say this, like plastic? Is that what
Oh, gotcha. Oh, they the way they packaged it was a little more paper. Yeah. I think a lot of times with the foods that are more natural or organic, they typically also like to be more sustainable. So they might be in a paper product. So that actually is something to look at as well.
And then also the microplastics as well. They're watching out for microplastics.
That's really good. Yeah. Plastic practice. Yeah. All right. So I want to tell you guys that what we're going to be doing is we're going to actually be the items that are marked blue. We're actually, those will be your raffle prizes at the end of this. So if my husband wouldn't mind, would you mind using the bag to collect the blue items and bring them up front while I wrap up? All right. All right. Did you guys like that shopping experience? How was that helpful? Yes. Good. Good. I'm glad. I've noticed that when you're learning something new, there's something different about having something that's hands-on, where you can put that practice into it, right? Oh, that was a mistake. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. No, so that's, yeah. Yeah, it's not good. Yeah. I should have marked that orange. Yeah, I should have marked it orange. I'm sorry. Thank you so much for that catch. Yeah. All right, let's go ahead and wrap this up with just the last bit of information, and then we'll have our raffle, okay? All right, so tips for buying clean, fresh, and affordable. So when you want to go shopping, some of a great tip is actually going to your local farmer's market or going to a co-op that's in your area. This is how you can find some of your fresher foods, because when they're from the local farms or from the markets, they typically are the freshest because they were plucked at its ripe point versus picked before they're ripe. Again, it's not bad to go grocery shopping. This is just a tip to either make it more affordable or if you want your freshest foods. So it's just a tip. Also, there's less travel time. When you go to the farms here in the area, you know that that farm was probably right next door to you. So there wasn't much traveling or preserving that had to be done for the food to come to your table. And then also you support local communities when you do shop local farms. We love, anytime the summer hits, we love hitting the market that's right near the Sandbridge Beach. That market is great. And there's something really amazing about buying foods that you know came from the farm. I don't know what it is, but there's just a special connection, I don't know, that happens there. It's like, wow, I feel almost like I picked it myself. I don't know, but... All right, and then of course, when you pick from farms, most likely they're organic. You might have to do some personal research with the farm that's near your area to see if they do use any preservatives at all, or not preservatives, but pesticides. But this is some good, helpful tips for you for fresh foods. Also, seasonal shopping. This is something I'm also still learning too, but this is why you see butternut squash in the fall time so often. This is why we have our pumpkin spices and things like that come out, because that is the seasonal item right now. And that's why when you get your strawberries in the wintertime, a lot of times they're sometimes more expensive than in the summertime, right? So seasonal shopping will also help lower the costs. And you can find a lot of affordable things at places like Aldi's and Trader Joe's. I was very surprised to find organic foods at Aldi's. I did not know they had that. I was missing. I was sleeping on Aldi's. I was skipping that place like the plague. I was like, that is not where I want to get my food. But then I looked and they have kale and strawberries and blueberries that are so much cheaper than at your usual grocery store. And also Trader Joe's, when we do our produce shopping, we always go to Trader Joe's because they're so much more affordable there. We really appreciate it. So now, once my sister-in-law told me about Trader Joe's, I can't stop now. So yeah. And then again, also do your personal research. Maybe you don't have a Trader Joe's in the area, but maybe there's a co-op or something like that. All right. When we started this journey, oh yes?
Also, for those, also there's an Aldi's app. It's available to shop online. Also, Aldi's and Whole Foods.
There's an Aldi's app and a Whole Foods app. Oh, good. Thank you. That's really helpful. Yeah.
Trader Joe's does usually find local products. That's how they have their prices lower, because they try to use the local farms. So
yeah, Trader Joe's.
Yeah. The same. Aldi's we saw a lot when we were in Europe. So their brand is more clean because they come from a overseeing body that is usually more stringent on that stuff.
Yeah, thank you.
I shopped at Aldi's oftentimes. I lived in Germany for about 3 years, and over there they rotate the vegetables, the fruit quite frequently, and they're nicely priced, very affordable prices.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, I was very happy to hear that Trader Joe's and Aldi's look at more local products like that. I was very happy about that. I just want to share a little bit of our story too. It's just a few years ago when we started learning about these ingredients, the first step we made was, wow, this stuff is in our food. This is what I'm putting in my body, and this is how, what I'm doing, and this could take away 10 years of my life. Yeah. So immediately we rummaged through our fridge, we rummaged through our cupboards, we put them in a box, and we threw them in the trash. You know, this was a first step for us, and we're still learning as well. We are not expecting everybody to come here as experts and you're 1,000% organic and all your food is perfect and your perfect health. health, just like anything else, is a learning journey. And so your first steps might be a little bit different. But I do want to share some examples with you. This is actually a dish that we had at home. And this dish was literally just some mixed greens that we got from Trader Joe's, some pumpkin seeds, a dressing, and some tofu that we cooked up. And this is a lot of protein. It's delicious. I realize as long as you have a base, your main dish, and some kind of healthy sauce to go on top, that it really makes the dish. And I want to share with you actually how much this specific meal cost us. Oh, what'd you say?
You said it smells good.
It smells. Oh, I'm sorry to make you hungry. But yes, but this costs anywhere between $5.50 to $6.30 for the both of us, based on the serving sizes. So it is possible to eat healthy, to eat organic, and still be affordable. You just have to kind of be creative about it. Maybe eat a lot of stews and soups and things like that to make your food stretch, especially if you are a larger family. But yeah, this is just an example for us. And then this is another thing. This is actually a meal that we'll have in the morning, and it's actually steel cut oats. And once you build it up, this is a bunch of seeds, cinnamon, and a little bit of cacao powder. Yep, chia seeds, flaxseed. This is a really great way to get your seeds and your protein and your omega-3s when you mix it up with a smoothie or your oatmeal. And this is what my oatmeal looked like. It basically was like a chocolate oatmeal dish, and it held me over all day. Actually, we had this very meal the other day, and we actually were held over all the way through lunchtime. We didn't even end up eating till maybe close to 6 p.m. Everybody's stomach is different, but this held us over pretty well. But yeah, and that cost, it was an estimate of 33 cents per serving, because the main dish is just oats. Just oats. So I want to challenge you all to try to make one step in the right direction today. You can start by swapping out your healthier options. You can simply add a piece of fruit to each meal. This is something we started incorporating to make sure that we got our servings of fruit, a banana, an orange, pineapple, jackfruit, whatever the fruits that you love. Try to have that as kind of like the dessert, as the reward for your meal after the day. You can try a new plant-based recipe. Maybe there's a recipe you've been wanting to try, and you're like, you know what? I'm really curious. Let me go ahead and test it out this week for one of your meals. Maybe your step is to shop more organic produce this week. You're like, you know what? Instead of getting the typical apples I get, I'm going to go get organic apples this time. You know, there's different things that we can do, and it just takes one step in the right direction. Okay. All right. And this is just to summarize what we've talked about. Gotta catch up. All right, is shop for the greatest nutrition when you're shopping organic. And you want to remember the dirty dozens. Remember that markets are targeting your wallet, not your health. So don't fall into their tactics. Look for healthy alternatives by reading your labels, and avoid the harmful and unhealthy ingredients where possible. Okay. Shop locally, seasonally, do research to try and get the freshest and most affordable item for you in your home. Shopping healthy doesn't have to be expensive. And like we talked about, I hope that this helps us to have a better relationship with our food, because it leads not only to preserving our wallets in the long term, but it also helps us to have a better experience of quality of life with the most important relationships in our lives. Here are my references. And it's time for Rappel, and I hope that this was helpful for you today. Thank you for having me.